Well, we're back for another video, and this one happens to be on my 8th wedding anniversary. So both myself and my wife, we have been very run down with all the goings on and everything that has to happen, and we both kind of forgot stuff. And my wife bought me some of my famous FXD shorts, which are good, but I've been sitting on some silver bullion for a while, and I've got some opal triplets kicking around. I had actually planned on doing a piece of jewelry for it. But before we can do that, we've got a few things to experiment with. Now, I know that for sure I can melt silver in this. But I want to see, because I've got about 200 bucks worth, and I bought that at a slightly inflated price from my senior advisor, aka my mother. So she had a little bit of cash in her pocket. So now that melts about the same temperature as the brass I've been using. And I want to see that if I can use this little graphite crucible and this gas torch here, see if I can actually melt brass or silver with that. Because I've got about 4 ounces of silver. It's probably a bit, not quite enough to be putting in this, but that's my backup plan. So, being as the similarities in melting temperature, and excuse the PC-21 flying overhead right now. It's what happens when you live nearby an airfield. Anyway, I'm going to see if I can melt some brass with this gas torch. Alright, now, we've got a bit of graphite ingot mold here, and we've got, what's this? That's an F88 blank. I think we'll use a 38 special in here, just because I've got many more of those. Alright. See if we can get this hot enough.
One eternity later.
Alright, I think based on that experiment, it's going to be far too time and energy consuming to try and melt silver this way. So I think I'm going to do it in the crucible. Now the next question is, do I want to use an MDF mold like I have in the past with a graphite coating, or do I want to use sand casting? I've got some Petrobond, but that means I need to go and design a little mold, because my bigger mold is probably not up to the task. I've started to run out of sand a little bit. So I think I'll go back to Autocad and have a little bit of a think. Okay, so we've been inside, we've done some Autocad, we're back out again, and we have a pile of silver bullion. 4 1-ounce pieces of pure silver. This is 999 fine silver. This one's a Great Lakes 1973. This one, we'll have a look at the back of that. This is 60th anniversary Labor Day one, 1913 to 1973. This is American silver, obviously. This is American Heroes. Motherlode Mint. Fine silver. What was this first one? What mint? Oh, the Great Lakes Mint. Okay, this one is a US Bicentennial in 1976. Birth of Liberty, Lexicon Concord. We're going to melt all of this stuff down. This is one of the interesting things about GoPro stuff, is if you're speaking, sometimes it will think you've told it to stop. Anyway, we have a Liberty Mint here. Again, the second one. This is a Thanksgiving 1973. Now, ironically, Thanksgiving has just passed. My wife having some Cherokee heritage. There's not much sentimental value in these memorial minted pieces of silver. But they are American silver, so we're going to use that. Hopefully we're going to go with this arrowhead idea. Now, to give you a bit of an idea in the background here, this piece of the arrowhead, which we can bring right up here. I've provided some flat facets here. I'm actually going to cut a groove in here, and I have some silver wire to make the banding, and that should come up with something roughly analogous to a flint arrowhead. And we'll be putting an opal triplet in here that I know she's seen and she really likes. So I've been sitting on that for something special, so let's see how we go with this. And all these rings should help me to cast or make a very small Petrobond casting or sand cast. So anyway, let's get all these cut up. And I have some bits loaded up in the laser here. So I've got some 3mm MDF already loaded up in here. And those holes will allow me to locate things. I'll mark it accordingly so I get the different halves nicely lined up. Anyway, let's get all this happening and fire up our laser. We need to fire this up along with the extraction fan. So I'm going to program all this up and we'll get it cutting. Alright, that is the laser cutting done. Now we're going to go inside and prep the molds. Now this is the triplet that I've been sitting on. I've got some little triplets that I can show you here that are notoriously difficult to pick out. Anyway, I have a bunch of little triplets like this, but I'm going to use the big one if I can get it out. This gives you an idea of what we're looking at here. Beautiful colours in it. Now, to explain what's going on with these molds, so I'm going to put one over here without the triplet, of course. I'm going to put some sand in here, pack it down really hard. Then we will flip this over and I'll put that piece on the end to hold it steady. And then, while this piece is in here down facing that way, we're going to stick this piece over the top. I'm going to pack some sand into there with some talc in between them. I'm going to separate them, remove our piece, probably poke a little hole through the back, and then we will put this piece on the end here, like so, and our pouring hole will be through here, and then we will reattach all these pieces really super carefully, put it back together like that, and then hopefully a couple of little nuts and bolts will hold it all together. And I'll be pouring silver into this, which will probably fairly instantly set fire to it all. So it's traditionally very hard to go back and repeat these sort of things. So I'm pulling out all my GoPros. There's all three of them. I've got two Hero 7s and the Hero 9 here. So I'm going to get all this set up and ready to do stuff. In the meantime, I'm going to probably, I could use my new crucible for this one, which I might do. You know what, yes, I'll use the brand new one for that instead of the one that's been used on brass. Actually, no, I will use the seasoned one. I will figure that out. Anyway, I'm going to fire this guy up with our silver in it, which is inside still. No, it's over here. Here's our silver. There's 4 ounces of it. I paid $200, which is probably quite a bit more than, I think it was worth about $38 an ounce at the time. Anyway, it was an excuse to give my mother some money. Anyway, let's get all these cameras sorted out. Right, now, fun fact about graphite, especially once it's been fired a couple of times, it tends to make your hands kind of black. Anyway, I'm going to put these in carefully when I can figure out how to get them out of these pouches. I may require a knife. These vinyl pouches have all set shut, so we'll get them off. Now there's probably some of you there that are arguing that 4 ounces makes for a pretty heavy pendant. Well, the pendant most certainly isn't going to be 4 ounces. Probably more like ½ an ounce or thereabouts. But I need the extra metal to provide some hydraulic pressure. So, wow, these little vinyl pouches, they were designed to protect them, but, I mean, yeah, not great if you wanted to take them out and polish them. This has got the nice silver shine here. Good stuff. So, bye-bye Great Lakes Mint. We're all going in. I'm going in this way. Okay, now we are going in here. We'll do that and we will commence warming it up. It's worth noting I don't have any borax or anything to deal with slag on the top, but this I'm hoping should be pretty clean. Generally I find if I leave this lid shut and don't open it too much, the top doesn't oxidize all that much. So let's warm it up. Okay, so we're in the fixed position for recording. The relay in this has just clicked. We're at 1070 degrees. I'm going to wait till a full 1100 before I pour, but we'll go from there. I'm going to start preparing now. I've got my tongs and I'm going to put my big gloves on. And hopefully this works. We've got the apprentice witnessing the minute, so we're going to get her positioned. Okay, now where can you see from? Maybe you might be able to see from over here. You might be able to stand there and see where we're pouring.
It's gotta be brown.
Okay, move the heat shield to protect my legs a bit here. Alright. Now I'm going to put the sunnies on, not only to protect my eyes from spalling, but also the intensity of the light. Very, very bright stuff. Alright, we've got our 3 cameras all synchronized. Let's see if we can pour some silver for the first time ever. Alright. Where's my sprue? There.
Oh no.
I'm glad I put that guard up to protect my legs. Right. You can go off. You can go off. Now we want to put the fire out. Alright. Now we'll let that cool off for a while.
Oh, it's lovely.
It is, because it's really, really hot.
Like magma.
It is. Magma's a lot hotter than this, but this is still very, very hot. More than enough to do you some damage. And it looks very silvery in there. So I think we're good. It's going to take a bit to get it out, but we can probably just snap that off. Ha! Alright. Grab this. It came out nicely. My first attempt at silver and it looks really good. Alrighty. Yay! I'm at a bit of a crossroads here, trying to decide whether I leave some of these surface scratches in and call it a rustic look, or whether I polish it to a really beautiful finish. It is going to be a little bit of a rough finish. It is kind of intended to look a bit like a flint arrowhead, so yeah, a bit of a rough finish is not that bad. I don't know about those extra gouges. I might go and ask. Alright, so after some consultation, it's decided we're going with a rustic look. Alright. Now, a couple of things I need to do now. I need to get the fabric in these grooves, clean out the material out of them. Yeah, well, it's going to be nice and shiny, and it's going to look a little... I would have loved to have actually polished them out. It is really bugging my OCD not polishing those scratches out, but the intended recipient likes the rustic look, so we're going to do that. Now I have a choice to make whether I go traditional super glue or whether I go epoxy in this, because this is significantly rounder than the average gem that I would put in here. And I may be using the word gem incorrectly because I'm not a professional jeweler. But, see if we can get this guy out. There's our opal. Considerably bigger than what I'm used to working with too. I could have probably made a bigger piece for this. Gonna sit in about that way. I reckon yes, the red to the top would be good. Well, I could put a pool of super glue in there, and I don't know how it's going to sit. And epoxy is actually will yellow over time, whereas super glue won't. Give me some time to consider this. Okay, so we've moved to a different camera for this with a zoom lens so that you can get a better idea of exactly what's going on here. Now, whenever I use this camera, you always see the scratches come out of it. It looks far shinier than it does on camera. There's a bit of an inclusion in here. Basically, to get that out, I'd have to shave a lot of the silver off. And as I said, the intended audience doesn't mind the rustic look, so in an ordinary case, I'd go back and I would sand this down and I would get it to a perfect finish. But the other problem is by the time I get to that depth, fitting the stone is going to be a problem. Now I have some 22 gauge silver wire here that I'm going to use for the banding around here to make it look like it's been stitched on to an arrowhead or to an arrow. So I'm going to get a bit of this unraveled and then we'll go from there. Alright, so what we really want to do is decide on how much of this silver wire we're going to use. So you know what, I'm going to just take an estimate because working with a whole roll is going to be a problem. Still need to be careful with that gem because it is carefully done. It is still precariously placed. Now I'm going to do this by hand. I'm going to fold this over the back here and I'm going to go across the front. This 22 gauge fits in this gap just nicely. If I do this right, I can go over the top each time. It's probably a bit hard to see what I'm doing here. I'm going to go for 3 laps and I'm going to trim it off at the back here. About there. Alright, fairly soft and easy to work with. Now we sort of have that handmade kind of look. Again, I'd love for this to be symmetrically perfect, but that's not the look we're going for, and it is bugging me quite a bit. I will put a tiny little bit of solder on the back here to position all of these, and I need to just tuck them in under there. So that's starting to look a little bit better, got a bit more dimension to it. Now I need to find a fitting for the top, and I have a bunch of different spring steel rings here that are silver plated. So yeah, we'll find probably one of these guys will be what we'll end up putting on it. Probably one of the bigger ones. Alright, now I'm faced with a bit of a dilemma here. What I could do, so I could use this spring steel ring, which I know is going to be very strong, or I could make a couple of loops out of that and solder the join out of silver wire, which is softer, but it's going to be much easier to fit in here. This, I'm pretty sure the effort of trying to get it in here is going to scratch it up, and silver is quite soft. So I think I'm going to go for attempting my own ring. Yeah, going to be interesting. Give me a bit of time off camera. So making my own ring it is. So I'm going to start with a screwdriver and a pair of pliers here. I'm going to do this, hold you on here, and then I'm going to wrap this around a bunch of times around the screwdriver. Try and get a nice tight little coil going here. Right, that should give me some loops which feel a bit small, to be honest. I might try and make some out of a bigger diameter. I think that needs to be the case. I'm going to go up a diameter. I'm going to use a little bit more silver wire, but not much. Now, one of the reasons I'm using a flat blade screwdriver is that the shaft here is the same as the diameter of the, well, the shaft is the same diameter as the tip. I guess a Phillips probably is as well, but anyway. Alright, now we've got a different loop here. That looks a little better. Now, can we get away with doing this with our fingers? Probably not with my dexterity the way it is. Multiple sclerosis has robbed me of a number of things. Dexterity is one of those. But this is considerably softer. I'm going to say probably somewhere near as soft as the 999 silver that this is. Let's see if we can get this on here. Oh, there's a bit of blue tack and a bit of polishing compound in that hole. Alright, so I'm going to be a little wasteful here, but that's what we need to be doing. Yeah, so I think we're going to go slightly oblong for our loop and trim you off like that. And we're going to try and match the radius a little bit. And we'll we will put a dab of solder on there. That should complete our loop a little bit. Give us a bit more of a loop. Yeah, not perfect, but anyway. Alright, let's get our micro iron out. That should allow us to at least hold things in place. I've got a tiny bit of solder, and this is 6040 tin lead solder, and most jewelers will be swearing at me right about now. I'm using the tiniest bit just to hold that ring in, simply because I haven't been able to get hold of silver solder. Alright, a micro iron which has got a slightly buggered tip is at about 400 degrees right now. Right, that's the tiniest little bit there. That ring is quite secure now. Let's do just a little retaining bit here so that this wire doesn't unravel. Just the so tiniest little bit. Just in here. That's all we want. I think that's good. Okay. So that should keep those wires from unraveling in the future. Cool. I should weigh this actually. I've probably got a gram scale somewhere. Have a look around. Alright, so my gram scales are MIA and have probably been that way for quite some time. I don't often need to weigh small quantities of things. What I did find are these calibrated weights that were given to me or bequeathed to me by the late and great Ken Anderson. And I can get a fair sense of how much this weighs by feel. So we are probably a little more than the 10 gram mark. So let's say if I put both of these in here, that feels about what it is. Yep, so I think we are probably about 15 grams of silver in there, which I don't know what that is in ounces. Give me a moment to calculate that. Okay, so 15 grams is roughly half an ounce, which if you recall when I was casting this, I kind of guessed it would be around about half an ounce is what I was kind of aiming for with it. So that means I can make a few more of these. At least I've got smaller opals on it. This is the biggest one I got. This was an eBay auction for an opal triplet. I ended up paying about 30 bucks for this opal triplet. I think it was slated for about 90 or 110 bucks or something. So I got pretty well. And that is a, I think that's a Coober Pedy opal as well, or at least an opal sliver turned into a triplet. Anyway, I think my wife has appropriate chains for this. So yeah, so far she's kind of stuck her head over my shoulder while I've been making this and thinks it's absolutely awesome. So I am just going to have to look away from these extra scratches here and go, well, I guess she likes it. And that was the intended result. There's this inclusion up the top here that was a bit of sand that shifted during the molding process. Not much I could do about that other than sort of remelt and start again. But again, this is something that when you're looking at a flint arrowhead, there are inclusions occasionally like that. So it's a little bit imperfect, but you know, for my very first attempt at cast silver, I think it's not that bad, you know, but at the same time, I can certainly see plenty of room that I can improve with this. So one thing I'm going to do before I hand it over, I'm going to find my silver polishing cloth and just give it a bit of a hand clean. Okay, silver cloth time. We're nearly at the end of this video because I'm tired. For a start, I'm going to give it a bit of a run over the back here. This is how you do this is a bit of an art actually. I'm going to start on the back so I get a bit of an idea as to how it might come up. Yeah, it's going to look alright, I think. Yeah, it's going to shine up rather nicely. Mostly on the front here, I want to be careful not to disturb that, but I think the glue has pretty well done its job. I'm not sure how the professionals set these in, whether they use a claw setting or something like that, but I'm pretty happy with the super glue. My experience in the past with these opals is they've held in pretty well with super glue. It's a bit of a clean up, and that Silver wire probably has tarnished a bit. Give that a bit of a go in there. Oh, nice little clean up here. And these work really well for the brass jewellery that I've done as well, these little polishing cloths. Alright, so there's one little bit in here that I want to get just in through here on the top. You don't need to be firm with these, just need to be patient. Okay, so not sure what you guys think. Let's zoom in a little bit. Not sure, this is going to be our screenshot. Let's focus in on that bit. So what do you guys reckon? I'll pull a band-aid out for the screenshot. My first ever attempt at silver, and it's 999 silver with an opal triplet from Coober Pedy. What do you guys reckon? Anyway, I await your comments below. I'm sure they will be critical and all manner of comments in between. I'll see you all in the next one. I gotta go wash my hands. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm gonna go present this to my wife.